All right, good evening, everybody. Sorry for the inconvenience and having to wait. I've been trying to connect my network to my laptop and it's been giving me issues. I think we'll just go ahead. Maybe at some point I'll move to the system again if it works. If it doesn't, I'll have to continue with using my phone for now. But I just hope that you are able to hear me. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, good. I have no choice for now, but let's just manage. The class has to go on. I don't want us to skip this class at all. It's very important that we hold the class, whichever way that we can. So what we have been treating is IAS 33. We've been looking at earnings per share, and we've handled the basic EPS part, which I will quickly revise. And then we'll quickly look at the diluted or dilutive EPS. Once we're done with that, we may look at the question if time permits. And I want to believe after the class, we'll be equipped enough to attempt IAS 33 questions. All right. So let me just share my screen because it's really, really hard for me right here. Looking for my WhatsApp. Are you able to see my screen? Let me just first of all ask that. Please let me know if you're able to see my screen. What did you say?
Not at all. We can see, sir.
All right. Just a moment. How about now? Are you able to see my screen now?
You can see, but so too tiny.
Okay, almost. I'll ask again. Give me a moment. How about now?
I think it's better. It's better now.
All
It's
right.
still tiny.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. So in the last class, we went on to talk about very important issues around ordinary shares. First of all, we have said the standard, the standard very, very smart move to say that ordinary shares is that class of share that is subordinate to all other classes of equity instruments. Is that equity instrument that is subordinate? And the meaning of that is simple. Our scope here, when we are looking at shares here, we mean that we are telling you we are looking at the shares of the ordinary shareholders who are the last stakeholders, in the sense that when we look at the order of priority, how the returns of investment are settled. You see, the class of investors that you are going to settle last are the owners of the business. And the real and true owners of the business are the ordinary shareholders. And why we always say that, by that fact or by that meaning itself, we have already insinuated that they carry the most risk of the business, because by the time you settle all other stakeholders, there's the possibility that there is no profit for them to share. Also, there is also no promise that there will be sharing of profits, even if there was a profit. And also, they do not know until after that profit has been made. They do not know what they are going to get in return as dividend from their ownership. So if you look at it by and large, you can see why they said it is subordinate equity instruments to all other classes of equity instruments. So when you talk of preference shares, it won't qualify. All right, it won't qualify for what we were talking about as regards one-offs in the last class. All right. So we also have potential ordinary shares, and that will be any financial instrument or contract that may entitle its holders to ordinary shares. And we made mention of a few things that can happen like that. I'm sure you've done IFRS 2 share-based payments. You must have talked about share options. When you did IFRS 9, I'm sure you must have talked about convertible loans or convertible bonds, where the holders of those instruments have a right to exercise that option at that agreed price in the future. Okay, to convert their instruments, their debt instruments to equity. All right, it's important that we bring that to the fore. We talked about options, warrants, and their equivalents, and then we'll talk about put option, which is the right to sell ordinary shares at a specified price for a given period. All right, and then the standard, of course, went to shed more light on what potential ordinary shares are. Now, IAS 33 has the following scope restriction. We said only companies with potential ordinary shares which are publicly traded need to present EPS, including companies in the process of being listed. So I won't bore you with all of these stories. What we said in the last class, I recall very well, is that of course there is something called PIE, public interest entities. Not all public interest entities are, are publicly quoted companies. However, you can expect a higher volume of interest in those companies that trade on the stock exchange of a country. Trading on the stock exchange means that your shares are available to be bought and to be sold at secondary market. Now, that would require listing requirements. Well, so if you are not yet PLC, but you are in the process, for instance, there is a new company I learned of, I can't remember, is it data Kinikon Internet Limited. Yeah, they are limited. Now they want to become PLC. You know, I think that was this week. So such a company, if they were to publish, they are even going to need to, first of all, part of the requirement for their listing would have been for them to, publicly share their financial statement. So in such financial statement, you will expect to see the basic EPS and the diluted EPS. Now, any other company can choose to do so, to give out their basic EPS as part of their FS, even though they don't trade on NGX. However, you must be careful about something. I keep saying something about in the spirit of IFRS. One of the key thing there is that if I say that I am compliant with IFRS, so if IFRS give me an option to do or not to do something, if I'm choosing to do it, even though I'm not compelled, in my executing it, I have to execute it according to the standard. All right. Meaning that my calculation of my EPS will still be guided by IAS 33. That is what that whole scope is trying to bring to us. All right. In terms of measurement, what we are going to be learning, or what we have learned so far when we were treating EPS, is number of ordinary shares. Very, very important. Weighted average number of ordinary shares, because there are circumstances where we will have to make some adjustments. We have to make some adjustments in the calculation of the weighted. Trouble about this one, we know that the EPS is calculated by saying the profits that are attributable to the ordinary shareholders divided by the weighted average number of ordinary shares. So most of our deliberation last week was on how we were going to calculate the weighted average number of ordinary shares that are outstanding. Now, to do that, we said that if we're going to do that, we'll need to understand that there might be issue with the timing factor, meaning if there is an issuance of new shares during the year, if there is an issuance of new shares during the year, then we may need to factor the timing of when those shares came into the fore. So a share of 500,000 may have been in issue, and then we issue additional 20,000 shares. When I want to calculate my basic EPS, I will not go ahead and say 120,000. I will first of all say to myself, I have had 100,000 existing shares in issue, but I have new 20,000 shares. That new 20,000 shares did not exist throughout the year. So therefore, I need to factor the timing of how long it existed. And that is exactly what we mean by the weighted average number of ordinary shares. All right. Okay. Give me a moment. No, my system is not connected. Are we still together? All right. So, if that be the case, then we must learn how we're going to do this. We learned that in the last class. And then we also spoke about when we have when we have bonus issue. One of the things we considered was a situation where we have bonus issues. And bonus issues just simply means that the company is saying that, okay, the fact that you have ordinary shares existing prior to this present moment, we want to issue new shares to you. We want to give you new shares, all right? Now, in giving you new shares, we'll tell you the number of shares that you qualify for to receive for free. Are you getting my point? The number of shares that you qualify for to receive for free. We said whenever this happens, you will not just calculate the EPS for that year alone. You will go back and calculate the EPS of the previous year. The EPS of the previous year. And what are you going to do there? What you're going to do there is simply to assume a new number of shares that you have in the current year. You will use that same number of shares to that of the prior year. We solved the question like that in the previous class. In the previous class, we did something like that. And we said the reason for that is that you have issued new shares for which you have not received any capital. You have not received, it did not increase, there was no additional consideration. You didn't get any new consideration when you issued those shares. So therefore, we will need to go back and adjust or restate the EPS of the prior year. All right. And then we went on to right issue. And under right issue, the first thing that we learned under right issue was how to calculate the theoretical X right price. We said the calculation of the theoretical X right price means that, first of all, right issue is saying you have this number of shares. We're going to give you the right. We are not giving you for free. We are only giving you the right to purchase new shares at a discounted rate. Now, in the case of right issue, it is not free, but there is an element of free there. And what is the element of free or bonus in it is that what it simply means is that we are giving you for less than the actual market value. So there is an element of the price you are paying, which is that right price that you are paying is lower than the fair value of those shares. So you may have paid for the shares, but there is an element of what you have paid for that is a discount. Now that element, which is the value of the rights for that doing SFM, value of rights. That portion, which we call value of rights, is a free or bonus element. So because there's an element of bonus there, we will need to calculate that. And to calculate it, we said what we will do, the steps were there. We said determine the theoretical X right price, number one. Then number two, the number of rights issued. And to get the number of rights issued, you just need to do a calculation of how many shares are new, how many shares are existing. Just do the new share over the existing number of shares, that basis, then multiply by the total number of ordinary shares in issue. All right. And then you go ahead and determine the bonus element of the right issue. We said how you will do that. We said how you're going to do that is by saying the theoretical X right price minus the right price divided by the theoretical X right price. We said when you have done this, you said add the existing ordinary share to the paid right adjusted by the time factor and add the bonus element. We did all of this in the last class. My only challenge is still my laptop. How do I connect this? Because it's best that I do this. Hold on, please. Permit me to share this to my mailbox and use the other laptop. Maybe it will work. Just give me a moment, please. This class is too important not to be had. Let's go to dilutive. Let's go to dilutive EPS. In dilutive EPS instance, is it that we foresee an instance where you will likely have to either issue some shares to people who have potential rights in the future, or we see a situation that if that is the case, your profit will not be the same. It will be adjusted for. Let me give you a very good instance so that you can understand what I'm saying. Imagine that we have in issue convertible loan stocks, and these loan stocks that we said are convertible, if they are converted, all right, it means that we will no longer have to pay interest on the bond, number one. Now, if I no longer have to pay interest on the bond, then you should expect that that is going to increase my profit. All right. Now, if that increases my profit, then I need to adjust my profit. Number one, not just now, I will not just adjust by the whole amount. I also bear in mind that my profit will be affected by such a profit will be taxed. Abi? So it is the after tax adjustment I'm going to do, to the profit. And then I will now go ahead and I'll go ahead and look at my ordinary shares. If those bonds are converted to shares, then I'm going to have an increase in the number of shares I have in issue. So therefore, dilutive EPS is saying those shares have not been converted today, but if they were to be converted, giving the best outcome for those guys, what will be your EPS? Tell us, let us know, so that everybody is aware as of today that we have some shares in issue. I mean, we have some instruments that are potential ordinary shares, and they have the ability, if they are converted, to reduce the basic EPS. It is called dilutive because it will reduce the EPS that you had formerly calculated. All right. That is why it is called dilutive. Now, to progress, to go on, somebody, was this before, or the text when I was showing it was still tiny? Anyway, this is what I wanted to ask. Do we have access to that material? Because I want to say, let me just share my whiteboard and do an example for us. On how we would calculate the dilutive EPS. We have an example there. Just go to your text, the IAS 33 text I shared earlier. Not the questions, the original text. Maybe I should just point to it on the group. Can everybody hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. I want to suggest something. Let me see how it goes. Do we have access to the study text? I can go ahead.
Yes.
All right, thank you. So, dilutive EPS. The first question says, in 2007, Abeco had a basic EPS of 105 cents based on earnings of 105,000 naira. Okay, then we'll take that C to be K. That will be Kobo. 105,000 naira and 100,000 ordinary 1 naira shares. It also had in issue 40,000 naira 15% convertible loan stock, which is convertible in 2 years' time at the rate of 4 ordinary shares for every 5 naira of stock. All right. The rate of tax is 30%. In 2007, gross profit of 150,000 naira was recorded. All right. Now, first of all, what do you find out here? You find out that the question made mention of the fact that there is a 40,000 naira 15%. Sorry, convertible loan stock. Convertible loan stock. Now, what IAS 33 is saying is this. If you have an instrument such as this in your financial statement, you have it in issuance, there is the possibility that the holders of this instrument will choose to convert this bond to ordinary shares. And according to that question, the question says that it will be at the rate of 4 ordinary shares, 4 for every 5. 4 ordinary shares for every 5. That means that if you were going to convert, we are going to do 4/5 multiplied by the face value. Are we together? Are we together? I need to know if network has thrown me off, or can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Yes.
Yes.
People are putting me in doubt. All right. So if they were to decide, that, okay, you know what? We want to convert our convertible loans into shares. How many shares will they convert to? They will convert to 4/5 multiplied by this face value of 40,000. 40,000 divided by 5 is 8, multiplied by 4, that's 32,000 shares. Now you see these 32,000 shares that they have if they decide to convert in the future. What is the effect? The effect is that we're going to have to calculate the one-offs, adding these new shares to it to see something. What do we want to see? What we want to see is if this would trigger our EPS, basic EPS calculation to reduce. If it will cause it to reduce, then we have what is called a dilutive EPS or a diluted EPS. Do I need to explain that again? Now, this is the number of shares that they are going to add. But how does this conversion affect profit? This is how it affects profit. On a good day, we would have had to pay interest. The interest will be paying if they have not converted, if they say they are not going to convert, is this coupon rate 15% multiplied by this face value of 40,000. and that will equal 6,000. Now, this 6,000 that will no longer have to pay if they decide to convert their bonds to equities. This 6,000 will increase our profit because it's an expense that would have incurred but no longer have to incur. However, you must bear in mind that this 6,000 is taxable. So therefore, whatever the tax rate is, I am going to apply on this 6,000. Then what will have increased my profit attributable to ordinary shareholders will be the after-tax amount. Let's solve the question. Let's solve the question. All right. So the idea of dilutive is something I have in issue. If it were to be converted, it will increase the number of shares, number one. Number two, it may also have the potential to affect the profit. Now, if that is going to be the case, then we need to calculate what will be the new profit attributable to the ordinary shareholders and then calculate the new number of shares if those convertible loan or bond were to be converted. Now, that will give us a new EPS. If that EPS will give us an amount that is a reduced amount than our basic EPS, then we have diluted EPS. So let's go. Our basic EPS shouldn't be a problem. Our basic EPS would have said, what is the profit? The profit is now, okay, they have already done the basic EPS, and how they would have gotten that is to say they have an earnings of 105,000 divided by 100,000 ordinary shares. This is giving them 105. All right. But when it comes to dilutive, we'll first of all say, what is their joint profit? Number one will be the post-tax profit adjustment. It will now be 15% of the 40,000. Now, remember that they told us that the tax rate is 10%. Okay, let me do it one by one. This will give me, okay, let me say times 1 minus 0.3. Or to remove the tax element. If I minus the 30%, I have removed that. So this is going to give me 6,000 naira multiplied by 70% or 0.7. And that will give me 4,2. That will give me 4,200. Therefore, my adjusted profits will now be, 105,000 plus 4,200, which is equals to 109,200. Is this clear? Is this clear? Let me erase the basic EPS, which they have already done for me. Please let me know if it's clear before I move on.
It's not clear.
Okay. Which part? What is it that you don't understand there so that I can fix that?
Started this post adjustments, post tax profit
Okay.
adjustment. And
All right. In dilutive EPS, I said we assume, let's bear in mind that the bond is convertible in 2 years, right? But IAS 33 says, as long as it is convertible in the future, it is going to be called a potential ordinary shares, meaning that there is a potential that we will have more ordinary shares in the future. Now, that is one side. Hold that information to one side. We have now been told that in the case of Abeku, they have 15%, 40,000 naira loan stock. So we are now saying that if this loan stock or this bond was to be converted, first of all, what is the interest that we will normally pay? The coupon rate was 50%. The face value of the loan itself is 40,000. Therefore, on a yearly basis, Abeco will be paying 6,000 naira. Ordinarily, that's what they are doing at the moment. They are paying 6,000 naira on a yearly basis to the holders of this instrument. However, if in 2 years' time, these people decide to convert their bond into equity, what is going to happen? The number one thing that will happen is that this interest payment will no longer be required. They will no longer need to pay the 6,000 naira on a yearly basis. Okay? Now, if that is added back to their profit, it is going to mean that this 6,000 naira will now be taxed. And they told you that the tax rate is 30%. So what I did was to remove the 30%. If you do 30% of 6,000, you are going to get 1,800. Remove 1,800 from 6,000, then you will get 4,200 naira. So the post-adjustment and the post-tax adjustment will be to add this 4,200 to the profit that they already have in this year, saying that, oh, there's going to be this effect. We are going to be saving ourselves a post-tax expense of 4,200. So add it to the profit. Now, the other implication will now be how many shares are they going to convert to? But before I go there, is this explanation clear? This post-tax adjustment, is it understood?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, so the next thing is, what is the new number of shares? We have already calculated the number of shares. I'll just do it again. So, new converted shares will now be 4/5 multiplied by the face value, which is equals to 32,000 shares. Now, the new number of shares, or the new one-us, will now be, they used to have 100,000 shares before. Now they have added 32. This will make it 132,000 shares. Now, if I must calculate their diluted EPS, their diluted EPS will now be equals to, what is the new profit? The new profit is now 109,200. And what is the new number of shares? 132,000. So what help us calculate this? 109 divided by 132. (109) divided by 132.
0.83.
0.83. So that will be 83 kobo. So you can see that their basic EPS, according to the question, was 205 kobo. All right. But when you now put into consideration the effect if those convertible loan stock were to be converted, as much as it is only convertible in 2 years, the standard says still go ahead as of now, calculate the effect. When you calculate the effect and you get an amount that is reduced, that reduces your EPS, your basic EPS, then present it to us, show us, tell us what the diluted EPS is. Do that calculation and tell us that you have a diluted EPS. If you don't have, no problem. So for companies that don't have potential ordinary shares, they will likely not have diluted EPS. For companies that have convertible ordinary shares, it is also possible that they will not have diluted EPS, because what makes it dilutive is that after I have calculated the effect, I can see that my new EPS that I have now calculated with this effect is a reduced amount. If it is not a reduced amount than my basic EPS, then I do not have a diluted EPS. Then I will not need. I will only show for those years. If, for instance, I'm doing my 5-year summary, that page on the financial statement that shows the 5-year summary, it is not all the years that will have diluted EPS. It will be only those years where the EPS is showing that it will be diluted. That's only the ones that they will put there. All right. Is this understood? Can I move on to the next question? What did you say?
Yes.
All right. The next question is a Russian co has 5 million ordinary shares of 25 cents in issue and also had an issue in 2004. Number one, 1 million of 14, 1 million naira of 14% convertible loan stock, convertible in 3 years' time at the rate of 2 shares per 10 naira of stock. B, 2 million naira ordinary shares of 10% convertible loan stock, convertible in 1 year time at the rate of 3 naira per 5 naira of stock. The total earnings were 1.75 million naira in 2004. The rate of income tax is 35%. You have been told to calculate the EPS, that is the basic one, and the diluted EPS. Now, pay attention to what I want to show you here. Very important that you listen, so that when they give you more than one convertible instruments or potential ordinary shares, you will know how you're going to look at it and determine whether or not you are going to have a diluted EPS, given the effect of such instruments. All right. Okay, let's start with basic. Basic is quite straightforward. My basic EPS, I have been told that the earnings in 2004 was 1,750 divided by the weighted average of ordinary shares. And I was told that Russian Co has 5 million ordinary shares. So if they have 5 million ordinary shares, I will simply divide by the 5 million. And what do we have? What do we have? 1.75 divided by 5. 1.75 divided by 5. Somebody help me, please. Do we have people?
0.35.
Thank you. 0.35. That's 35 kobo per share. 35 kobo per share. All right. Now let's go ahead and do our diluted EPS. Let's see, first of all, is it dilutive for each one of them? So let's start with the first one. What have they insinuated here? They have insinuated to us that we have 14% loan stock, all right? 14% loan stock that are convertible, all right? And the basis of conversion is 2 shares per 10 naira of stock. So what I will do is to say the number of shares that we will convert to, first of all, number of shares upon conversion will be, basis is 2/10, and I will multiply that by the face value of the bond or stock, 1 million naira. What do we get? 100,000 times 2, 200,000 shares. All right. Now, also, I have been told that 14% is the coupon rate. So the profit adjustment, pay attention. And like I said, you do the coupon rate, 14%, multiplied by the face value, 1 million. I said you do this, and then you multiply by 1 minus the tax rate. What is the tax rate? According to the question, the tax rate is 35%. All right. So if it is 25%, 35, I'll say 1 minus 0.35. All right. So the interest that I will be saving is 14% of 1 million. That's 140,000. If I minus 0.35 from 1, I will have 0.65. Now, 140,000 times 0.65 gives us how much? Are we together?
91,000.
Thank you, 91,000. Now, look at what I want to show you here. So, the incremental EPS. What do I mean by that? This is going to be the increase in profit, Abi, 91,000. Divide this increase in profit by the increase in the number of shares. This is 200,000. What do you get? Let me write this better. 91,000 divided by 200,000. What do you get?
0.455.
0.455. So that's 45.5 kobo. Now, I want to ask you, when we did the other one, we got 35 kobo. I mean, basic EPS. We got 35 kobo, right? Isn't it?
Yes.
Now, we got 35 kobo. We got that 35 kobo by saying 1.75 million divided by 5 million. That was how we got the 35 kobo, which was straightforward. Now, when I have done if the examiner has given me more than one convertible loan stock, this is what you should do. Test before you go, because you have multiple convertible loan stock, so that you don't go ahead and assume that everything is dilutive. This one now is not dilutive, and I will tell you why. The reason is that the incremental EPS is higher than the basic EPS. The ordinary EPS we have was 35 kobo. Incremental is 45.5 kobo. So that tells you that it is not going to dilute your basic EPS. If you are in doubt, we can do it together. This is what you're going to do. Ordinary shares we had before. Can I erase this, or let me just use a small part? Ordinary shares we had before was 5 million. It will become 5.2 million, right? We had 1.75 million as profit before. All right. If I want to add 91,000, 91,000 will be 0.091 million. Sorry. 0.091. Can somebody help me do this? Do 1.75 plus 0.091 and then divide by 5.2. What do you get? You will see that your answer will be higher than 35 kobo. Are we still together?
0.354. It's still at 35 kobo.
0.354. Do you see that your basic EPS increased slightly? Why? Because your incremental EPS for this convertible bond is an amount that is higher than your basic EPS. That is why. Now, let's do for the other one. Let's see whether the incremental EPS for the second convertible bond will also be higher. If it is higher, then we have no diluted EPS. If it is not, then that is what I'm going to use to calculate my diluted EPS. Let's see it. But is this clear? How I calculated the incremental EPS, is it clear? And what I'm trying to explain to you as well, as regards this incremental EPS being higher than the basic EPS, and therefore we will not have a diluted EPS. Is it clear? Nobody's answering me.
It's clear for me.
It's clear for you. Is it clear for another person? Unfortunately, using this phone does not make me see any interaction.
Yes.
It's clear.
Yes, so I think that is diluted because the incremental EPS is lower, I mean, it's higher.
It's not diluted because EPS is higher than the basic EPS. So to confirm that, I now said, let's add the profit to the original profit. Let's add the number of new shares to the original number of shares. And that will give us 5.2 million shares. If you add the original profit of 1.75 million to 91, that's 0.091 million. If you add everything together, what you will get is 35.4 kobo, which is higher than 35 kobo. So that already tells you that you have a situation where you don't have dilution. I said you have dilution when you calculate the effect of your potential ordinary shares, and then it leads you to an EPS that is lower than your current basic EPS. Then that means that you have a diluted or dilutive potential ordinary shares, which will give us diluted EPS. All right. Now let's quickly look at the second one, not to waste time. Let's look at the other one.
So I think those questions you sent, the
So the
PDF with
other
the
one, they told
question.
us that we have 2 million naira of 10% compatible conversion per 5 naira. Do is not share of all. If we were to convert, they said 345 multiplied by 100,000, that's 1.2 million shares.
Sir, we can't see the screen.
The audio is bad.
1.2. So we have new
You're
shares
writing on
of 2
screen.
million. The audio is bad, but can you see my screen?
The screen
No.
is, we can't see it.
You can see my screen, or can you see my screen?
I
So
can
for me,
see
I
it now.
can see your screen, but I don't
I
know
can
where
see
the
from here.
question is.
It's on the group.
No, I
Yeah,
think
I've
the
checked the
network
PDF
affected
already, but
what
I
you are
don't know which
writing.
one is doing
Coming late.
exactly.
You don't know where the breakdown is. Okay, you can go back to the question. When
I
you go
think
back to the question, you will see 2 million
Page.
naira. You don't know what page I am on.
It's page
You are
6.
solving question 2, diluted EPS. If you go to page 6, yes. So the other convertible bond we have there says 2 million naira of 10% convertible loan stock, convertible in 1 year's time at the rate of 3 shares per 5 naira of stock. So that's what I'm working on now. If we work on that, I said 3/5 multiplied by the 2 million naira face value. That's how we will know the new number of shares that it will be converted to. All right. Now, if this is the new number of shares converted to, the next thing to do is to know my post-tax adjustment. My post-tax adjustment. My post-tax adjustment of profits will now be equal to, I'll say, what is the interest I am saving myself from? 14% coupon rate, 10%. 10% coupon rate multiplied by that 2 million naira face value. And that will give me 200,000 naira. All right. Okay. Now, I have not done the tax effect. For those of us that have been yearning for me to do it step by step, you have won. The tax effect is 35% of 200,000. All right. 35% of 200,000. 35 times 2 is 70. So I'm thinking this should be 70,000. So remove the tax from the profit. Minus 70,000. This will give me 130,000 naira. So meaning that the tax effect, the post-tax adjustment to my profit, it will increase my profit by 130,000 naira. So if you look at 130,000 divided by 1.2 million shares, what do you get? This is definitely dilutive. I'm sure of it.
Zero point 0.10. 0.11.
Good. 11 kobo. Now this is dilutive. This is dilutive. Why is it dilutive? Don't forget again, our basic EPS was 35 kobo. And now we have seen that the incremental EPS is not such a hard concept. What is the increase in my profits? What is the increase in my shares? Divide it by each other, you get your incremental EPS. All right. Now, if that incremental EPS is lower than the basic EPS, then it is dilutive. And that's exactly what we are going to use to calculate our dilutive EPS. Now, let's calculate our dilutive EPS. We are going to increase the number of shares by 1.2 million shares, and we are going to increase profit by 130,000 naira. And we will see that our new EPS will be lower than 35 kobo by doing so. So diluted EPS will now be equal to first of all, we had profit of 1.75, Abi? New profit is 130,000. We have 5 million at 1.2 million other shares. If it's taken, this to give me 1,880 divided by 6.2 million. What do you get? Can I get? What do you get, everybody?
Zero point three zero
Is
three.
everybody still on?
0.303.
0.303. That's, you can multiply it by 100. That's 30.3 kobo. Or just say 30 kobo. All right. So you had a basic EPS of 35 kobo. You can see that this one is truly diluted. It's diluted. All right. So, what if the question had given you different conversion options? I get what I'm saying. What if the conversion rights had different values? It is the one that is most beneficial to the holders that we are going to use. Do you understand what I'm saying? If the question had said, you have the holders of this convertible loan, this one we just did now, They have in year 1, they can convert 1 share at 10 naira. In year 2, 2 shares at 10 naira. In year 3, they can convert 3 at 4 naira. It is that 4 naira we use. The reason I'm using the 4 naira is because that is the one that pays them the most to have more shares. So that is the one I will use, the maximum beneficial circumstance to the holders of those instruments. And the reason for that is that as much as possible, we want to make it glaring to whoever is coming on board to that company to know that this is the worst case scenario in terms of earnings per shares based on the potential ordinary shares that we have in that company. All right. All right. So in terms of, I may not be able to go on and on, but let's try and wrap it up with share options. Now there's a lot of story there, quite a number of stories there. I'll just deep all of that and see how I can explain. Are we there? You will go to page 7, I guess. Page 7. Yes, treatment of options. Treatment of options. All right. So for options, are we together? So if you are looking at the matter, it says we assume that options are exercised the same way you are that. Can you please unmute? Somebody has their speaker. And can you please mute? Somebody has their speaker unmuted. All right, let's follow with what was said here. They said it should be assumed that options are exercised and that the assumed proceeds would have been received from the issue of shares at the fair value. Now, what is the fair value? The fair value will be calculated on the basis of the average price of the ordinary shares during the period. Now, I say options are brought into the dilution calculation in the year in which they are issued, weighted as appropriate. We all know what weighting means. I wish we had on our hands a question that needed weighting. We've not done that since, although we did it in the last class. All right. I'll leave all of that. Okay. I just want to show you what you can do simply to get it done directly without wasting time. I think the question we have is also simple. Let me just show you the calculation. Let me leave all these ones. Let me show you how you will go ahead and calculate this. All right. Now, we're told that Brandco has the following results for the year ended 31st December 2007. Our net profit for the year was 1.2 million. The weighted average number of shares, of ordinary shares outstanding, was 500,000 shares. Average fair value of one ordinary share during the year is 20 naira. All right, this is what they say we are going to use as a basis in calculating the fair value. All right, we're told the weighted average number of shares under option during the year is 100,000 shares, with exercise price for shares under option during the year being 15 naira. And then you're told to calculate the basic and the diluted earnings per share. All right, I'm going to solve this together. I want you to pay attention. I'll do both basic and diluted together. So pay attention to what I want to do. This will be the last question I will solve. It's almost 10:30. Let's quickly get into it. All right. So what we will do is this. Let's put it this way. Let's have our EPS here. Let's have our earnings like this. And then let's have number of shares here. All right. So first of all, what was the earnings? They said we have a net profit. Net profit of how much? 1.2 million. Net profit of 1.2 million. All right. The shares, or let me say one-us. I like to say one-us. The one-us we are is how many? They said 500,000 shares. So this is straightforward. My basic EPS. My basic EPS. Somebody help me do 1.2 divided by 500,000. 1.2 divided by 500,000.
2.4.
Thank you. So my basic is very simple. Net profit to be used as the profit attributable to ordinary shareholders. And then I divide by the one-us of 500,000. Now, what are they really saying here? They're telling me now, as regards the option, I am being told that the weighted average number of shares under option during the year is 100,000. So I'll say number of options. Number of options. How many number of options do we have? 100,000. All right. Now pay attention to the last part. Now this is the number of options at fair value. We will adjust this number by the fair value. I'll say given fair value. Now they said to calculate this fair value, we're going to make use of the average fair value of the options. But don't you worry, you have been given also the exercise price. So what we will do is to say exercise price is how much? They said 15. I'll say exercise price divided by this average multiplied by number of options. Number of options. 15 over 20. Number of options is 100,000. 15 over 20 times 100,000 gives you how many options?
75,000.
Now 75. Deduct this 75,000. If this were to be exercised, we assume that this is the element that is leaving your issued shares. At the end of the day, this is 25. So 500 plus 25, 525,000. Your earnings will not change. It's still 1.2 million. Now, your diluted EPS will now be, when we're going to calculate basic, we said this earnings divided by this number of ordinary shares. Now, your number of ordinary shares upon the exercise of the options, will now be 525. But I need to explain something here. Where I did this working, oh, I'm wishing that I have a question like that. I may look for it. I won't mind. I won't mind. It seems in our individual classes, I will just ask us to go and look at the questions I gave us, try and solve it. It's quite straightforward. If you have any challenge, we may look at it together before we move on to the next topic. But it's really your challenge to look at. Now, there may be a timing factor. That's what I want to say. The question may have told you about the timing. This question is not particular about timing. So that's the wickedness that they can just do for you. Just give you a timing. They know that many students will forget to do the timing factor. If I find a question like that, I'll share with you. All right. Okay. Let us move on. This one does not have anything timing. So what you are going to do now is the same way you said 1.2 divided by 500,000. Yeah. You're going to 1.2 divided by 525 now. What does that give us? You see that it will lead us to a dilution. Why? Because the number of ordinary shares has increased.
23 couple.
1.2 divided by 5
2
to
point
5. 2 point what?
2.3.
Did you see that it got diluted? Now, what is the meaning of what we've done is that we try to calculate what is the bonus element of allowing somebody who has share option to be able to exercise that right at an amount that is lesser than the fair value of the shares. That 25,000, you will notice that our shares in issue before was 500,000. At the end of all the calculation we have done, it is now 525. This 25,000 extra shares is a bonus element. And that is why I was talking about timing factor. Remember when we did bonus shares the other time, we needed to calculate timing factor with it too. All right. So that is where we're going to end it for today. I recommend that upon finishing this class now, you can go ahead and pick question 2, the FR pass question I shared with you. I shared questions with you this night. The earlier one, I tagged it IAS 33 questions, but I discovered I made an error. It was IAS 12 questions that was there. So please go to that question I shared with you. I recommend you start with the question. There are only 2 questions. Start with question 2. That question 2 has share options in it. See if you use this, if you can still walk it through and get your answer. All right. That will be all. Is this understood? Is it clear, everybody? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, guys. Sorry, Mr. Ozeni. Sorry, we had our agreement earlier. Probably we forgot. Okay, I'll just talk to Mr. Asu to help me share
I
the
know, sir.
class.
It was just nature of the job. I was aware, but I can't do anything about it.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
That's the nature of the profession at times. Even I got in it and I had to just make up for the class because I don't want us to miss it. Very important. All right, thank you, everybody. I'll see you in the next class. See our students, see you on Sunday. FR students, Tuesday. Will likely be Monday, if possible. I'll talk to Mr. Ashi. If you can let me, I think FR class for Mr. Ashi is Monday. If you can let me have Monday while he has Tuesday. All right. See you guys.